Hey, gang, coming up on Finding Better podcast, Russell Van Brocklin is joining me, and we're going to talk about helping students and adults with dyslexia. Now, as you know, I usually like to do broad topics that apply to everybody, but I felt compelled to do this one with Russell because there's so many people out there with learning disabilities, and Russell shares his own journey as well as what he does to help even grade schoolers move from second grade learning all the way up to graduate school in a matter of months. It's really amazing stuff. So, if you have somebody in your family or in your life with dyslexia or learning disability, or if you know people, please share this. It's an amazing conversation. And of course, please subscribe. Okay, folks, here we go. Thanks for joining us. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And this is where we share real life experiences, not opinions, not academics, not theories, but real life experiences and wisdom of people who have been there and done that. Because, sometimes the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of others who've already gone down that path. And we're going to have a lot of fun today. It's going to be very, very interesting. My guest today is Russell Van Brocklin. And we're going to talk about dyslexia. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I just want to give you a little bit of background before I bring, by the way, Russell, welcome aboard. Welcome to
Thanks
Finding
for
Better
having me.
podcast. Yeah, we're going to have a great conversation. Before we get started, I want to get everybody on the same page of what dyslexia is and what it means. The thing is that dyslexia touches up to 20% of all students. And as a dyslexia professor, Russell translates structured literacy methods proven most effective for struggling readers into bite-sized actions parents can use tonight. So if you know of anybody, and everybody does, who's got students who are dyslexic, you want to share this. Um, what we're going to do is leaving today, we're going to know exactly why multisensory routines beat generic worksheets. And we're going to learn how to start seeing progress before the next report card, which is really, really cool, right? Now, let's all get on the same page here in terms of what dyslexia is. I did a little bit of research. So what dyslexia is, it's a neurological condition that makes it harder for the brain to connect letters and symbols with their minds. Okay. This leads to difficulty with decoding words and recognizing them quickly and spelling them correctly. Now, key characteristics, and I'm looking at this. I was reviewing this, and I'm like, that's kind of me, right? I mean, I've always wondered if I was dyslexic or not. Seriously, trouble with accurate or fluent word recognition, poor spelling and writing skills, difficulty with reading comprehension when reading is slow and labored. That's me. I have to read things three times before I go, this thing's trying to tell me something. Um, Often struggles with sequencing. Now, here's what dyslexia is not. Okay. It's not a sign of low intelligence. Many people with dyslexia are of average or above average IQ. It is not due to poor vision, and it is not laziness. Okay. Now, here's the really interesting thing to me, and we're going to get right into this, Russell. It often comes with superpowers. And what I mean by that is that people with dyslexia are statistically overrepresented in entrepreneurship, right? Design, engineering, and the arts. And there are really famous people who are dyslexic. Whoopi Goldberg is dyslexic. Richard Branson, Sir Richard Branson of Virgin Atlantic fame, he's dyslexic. Steven Spielberg is dyslexic. And Agatha Christie, the world famous author and storyteller, dyslexic. So, Russell, again, welcome to Finding Better. Did I describe that right?
In general, yes, but just what dyslexia really is. I'm going to simplify it to you with the best science out there. In
Okay.
my field, this is the book. It's called Overcoming Dyslexia by Sally Shaywitz from Yale. All
Okay.
right. And so if you're, is it, for anybody who's just listening, It's Overcoming Dyslexia, second edition, page 78, figure 23. So
Okay, let's go for it.
that's
Oh,
dyslexic. That's dyslexia.
okay. So there's a picture of a brain, and it's
Yep.
kind of
Now,
a side shot of the brain, and there's whoa,
well,
there's
here's the key
holes.
point.
Okay,
Do you
got
see
it.
how the
Go.
back part of the normal brain has massive neuroactivity, but the back part of the dyslexic brain has next to nothing? You see that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the back part of the normal brain has massive neural activity in the back part of the brain, the dyslectic next to nothing. But you see how the front part of the dyslectic brain is about 2.5 times overactive.
And that's represented by what looks like a big hole, but
Yes.
it's a big round spot.
Yes, but it's about
Yes.
2.5 times overactive compared to
Yes.
okay. So what I did, according to Dr. Shaywitz, that front part deals with two areas: articulation followed by word analysis. So what I did initially is I took the most motivated, the most intelligent college-bound dyslexic students at the Averill Park Central School District with their best special ed teacher, and her name was Susan Ford. Why? I wanted to know what we could do with the ideal. Okay.
Okay.
So we started these kids out. They were juniors and seniors in high school. Their reading and writing skills were at the 7th-grade or 8th-grade level. Okay.
Okay.
We started them out one class period a day for the school year, about 180 sessions. At the end, they increased their reading and writing skills to the average range of entering graduate school students
In 1 year, in 180
in one
sessions.
year. Yes,
So they went wait. Okay. So they went from seventh grade
seventh or
reading.
eighth grade reading
Okay.
and writing, and they increased to average of entering graduate students using the graduate records exam analytical writing assessment. Cost
Whoa.
New York State less than $900 a kid. This is just so you know, this was back around 05, 06, 07 area. Okay.
Okay.
Compared to the best dyslexic college at the time, Landmark College, we were 3 times as successful for less than 1% of the cost for less than 1/25th of the effort. All the kids went on to college, all graduated, grade point averages of 2.5 to 3.6. Okay.
Okay.
And how we did that is, again, I'm going to go back to the picture of the brain. You see the front part of the brain, 2.5 times
Yep.
overactive.
Yep.
They said
And one more, just real quick. Name of the book and page.
Overcoming Dyslexia, second edition, page 78, figure 23.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So Dr. Shaywitz said articulation, followed by word analysis. We did very little word analysis. It was articulation. Why? The graduate records exam, analytical and articulation. I said essentially the same thing. That was the breakthrough. All right, and it worked. And when I presented that in New York City in '06, remember the New York State Senate already funded this stuff for years. I thought I did something amazing. I thought I was done. I was wrong. The teachers came back and said, "Does this work for typical students?" And I said, "No way." So what I had to do is I had to go back and I had to figure out, how do I give this to typical students? Because I dealt with only the most motivated, the most intelligent. All right, very, very rare students. So what do we?
And most dyslexic students,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, we were dealing with dyslexic students in this first program who were highly intelligent
Right.
and extraordinarily motivated.
So then the teachers came to you and said, do this for normal students. Do this for everybody
No,
else.
no, sorry, normal dyslexic students.
Normal
Sorry,
dyslexic. Okay, got it, got it,
yeah.
got it. Okay,
How
normal
do we?
dyslexic.
Because will this work for no for tip? And no way. The school
Okay.
actually tried against my advice, and it was an utter disaster. Okay,
Mm.
so this took years to figure out. So what I had to do is I went back to that and I figured out at the bottom what we had to do was to shift it from articulation followed by word analysis to word analysis followed by articulation.
What? You had to
Oh, yeah,
flip
okay,
it?
yes, the flip it. So let me explain how to do that. So when we're starting off, typically, I've been training New York City special ed teachers how to do this and everyone reading for the past decade. And what they typically come into, the biggest complaint I have are elementary dyslexic students who are essentially, as one teacher said, apparently writing randomly placed misspelled words.
Hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to now show you how to fix that. All right.
Okay.
So, do you know any dyslexic elementary school kids really well?
Not right now. No.
Okay.
No.
So I'm going to give you my standard one. Her name is Sarah.
Okay.
Sarah's favorite, we have them write 10 likes and 10 dislikes. Sarah's favorite thing is swimming. She's on the swim team. She's 10 years old, second grade reading and writing level at the time. She's on the swim team. She took a course to become an assistant swim teacher for the real little kids. She's in the pool every chance she can get. So what we do is we're going to have on a laptop computer, not an iPad, not an iPhone, not handwriting, with a real keyboard, usually on a laptop. You're going to
Hmm.
type out hero plus sign. What are we talking about? And then Sarah's going to copy it. That's okay. Copying default writing strategy, Professor James Collins, Strategies for Struggling Writers. So she types out hero plus sign. What are we talking about? Then we're going to swap hero for Sarah. Sarah plus sign. What are we talking about? And then she copies that. Then we're going to swap out what are we talking about for the first thing on her, what she really likes list, which is swimming. Sarah plus sign swimming. See how we got there?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Now we need the plus sign is representing the default writing strategy of visualization from the same book. Okay, so what we need to do, that plus sign indicates we probably need to add words, subtract words, or move things around. So in this case, we need to swap out the plus sign for a word. All right, we have Sarah, plus sign, swimming. I am now going to ask you some of the simplest questions you've ever been asked. If you follow them exactly, it's going to work. If you don't follow them exactly, it doesn't work. Most special ed teachers mess this up. So do you think I'm going to be able to fool you?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't think this exercise is about fooling people,
Oh, no, I'm gonna try to
right?
fool you.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that is going to give you an epiphany. And this is going to give
Okay.
your audience
Okay.
an epiphany on what dyslexia really is. Are you
Wonderful.
ready?
Yeah.
So we're at
Sure.
Sarah plus sign swimming. Sarah plus sign swimming. We got to replace the plus sign. Here's my question. Answer it exactly. Does Sarah like or dislike swimming?
Like
Good.
Sarah likes
Now
swimming.
you got it the first part and then you messed it up. Okay?
What? I have no idea what I did. What are you talking
Are
about?
you ready for the epiphany?
Yes.
Okay. I first asked you, does Sarah like or dislike swimming? And you answered it correctly, like. But then, as educated people do, when you put in the sentence, you corrected it by adding an S.
Yes,
Sarah
I
likes
did.
swimming. But
Yes.
Sarah's dyslexic. She doesn't know how to do that. She doesn't know how to add the S. You
Oh.
see, yeah. So the big question is, how do we get her to add the S? So if you're Bill Gates' grandson, if you're truly wealthy, you're going to use a Dr. Orton, you're going to use an Orton Gillingham multi-sensory structured language approach. Dr. Orton passed away in 1948. He was the top researcher ever in the field of dyslexia. He would have dyslexics use seeing, touching, hearing, the multi senses. And how that works, if you're in fourth grade or older, it's about 75 grand a year in tuition alone for 4 to 5
Mm.
years. And then you're all fine. If you can't afford house money, because that's what it takes, nothing
Yeah.
else using traditional methods comes close to this. I'm going to show you the modern science. By modern, this came out in 2003, 23 years ago. There's our 22 years ago. So here's how we're going to use word analysis followed by articulation to solve this.
Okay.
Okay? Because Sarah doesn't know how to add the S. So what we
Right.
do is I asked Sarah, did you like or dislike? Like, because that's what I asked. Sarah likes swimming. Then I would ask Sarah, read what you wrote out loud. Does that sound generally correct? And she's going to go, no. Then I say, fix it. Sarah likes swimming. Okay. If it does,
Yep.
how to correct it, she reads it out loud. Does it sound correct? No. Fix it. That's how you do that. So, what I just showed you, like and
Oh,
dislike, is a very simple form of word analysis. Okay.
got
Now
it.
we're going to move on to articulation because, and then after because, each reason is a form of articulation. So,
Okay.
do you see how like and dislike, simple form of word analysis? Because, give me a reason, that's articulation. Give me a reason why Sarah would like swimming, something very simple.
Fun.
Because it's fun. Okay.
Hmm.
Now what we have is a bunch of misspelled words. How do we get Sarah to fix the spelling? Because in the original program, the spelling went from horrendous to clean at the graduate level. And Susan Ford said she spent very little time on spelling and grammar. It auto-corrected. Here's how we get this to autocorrect. We tell Sarah before she puts a period down, she can ask any question. Okay. Did I spell fun correctly? Well, probably not. And you can tell her you can type out how to spell fun. She can copy it. But if she puts the period down, if there's a major, and I mean major grammatical mistake or a spelling mistake, which is vastly more common, she has to retype the entire thing. So what happens? She says, I'm not going to make that mistake again. And usually it takes between 3 and 13 times. And she keeps making the
Wow.
same mistake. And she keeps making the same mistake. She starts to hyper concentrate. It's also, she starts getting annoyed with herself. How to help lower the annoyance? Two phrases. Sarah, you made a silly mistake, or Sarah, you made um, a silly mistake or a silly error. One of those two helps reduce the annoyance. But as she gets deeper down, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to make that spelling mistake. And she keeps making it. Somewhere between 10 and 13 times, she is concentrating so deeply, you may see sweat coming down her forehead. And that's where
Wow.
the magic, yeah, that's where the magic happens. And eventually she gets it correct. You keep doing that first, Sarah likes and dislikes. You do that 20 times with 10 likes, 10 dislikes until they're all done perfectly. Okay. Then
Yeah.
you go, Sarah likes, uh, then you add because reason one, you do that 20 times until they're all done perfectly. Then reason one and reason two, till that's perfect. Then reason one, reason two, and reason three.
And are these when you go from Sarah 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 plus, well, in this case Sarah likes swimming, and
Mhm.
then you go to the reasons, do those build upon each other?
Yes, we keep repeating what you've already written, and then you add the next piece.
Okay, now is it common that as she's going to the next piece, she makes a mistake on the stuff that she had previously written, or does that
And
usually
sometimes it happens, then she has to retype the whole thing.
she's got to go back over again? Again.
Yep,
Okay.
we make sure until it's perfect. Now, why is this important? Because I just
Hmm.
told you how we're taking a kid's writing level from the first grade to the end of second or beginning third grade level. All right, and here's a little secret. People say, "What about teaching reading?" I'm like, I don't teach reading, I teach writing. But if you can write it, you can read it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next part of the program, we show them how to develop a vocabulary of hundreds of evolved words. And I mean hundreds. Okay, but you see here just in this one part how word analysis followed by articulation, why that made it so successful, because that's the front part of the brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's the big secret. Now, that was when I was creating this model, that was step number three. The first step is I found we had to work with a kid's speciality, which is their area of extreme interest and ability. All right. When I looked at that,
Sure.
the number one book that the kids wanted was this. Surprisingly, this 1,000-page monster. It's Walt Disney, the triumph of the American imagination. Why? Because when these, have you ever been to Disneyland or Magic Kingdom and Disney
Uh,
World?
yeah, yeah,
When you walk in Main Street USA, did you feel the Disney magic?
absolutely.
They wanted to know what the Disney magic was. I said, okay. And I would give this massive 1,000-page book, again, Walt Disney, The Triumph of the American Imagination, to 10-year-olds. Okay. I seem to get a lot, they just seem to hit a lot around that time. So the most motivated kids would start off there and they would say, what's the Disney magic? And I would say, oh, Main Street USA is Marceline, Missouri. That's where Walt was between 5 and 10, and he spent his entire life trying to recapture that. And people do think he was dyslexic. And they're like, okay, but what are the universal themes? I said, well, you got to find them. So you mean you'll have to read that monster. So here's what I would do. Now we're moving on to the next level. I would
Okay.
ask them to, they would listen to their audiobook while following along in the real book, trying to answer a question. What is Walt like? What does he dislike? What does he want to do? And as they're going through the book, there'd be like a word they don't know, which in that section, about 3,500 words, they don't know any of them because these kids are reading usually at around the 2nd-grade level when I get them. You don't know the word, type out the word, go to Merriam-Webster's online dictionary. Do not copy and paste. Do not copy and paste. It does nothing. You have to find your definition, type out the word, type out the definition. Okay. Now, how many times do you need to type out a word or definition until you know it
For me,
permanently? Yeah, for you.
a lot more than most people, but I'll say three.
Okay, maybe for them it's five, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20. Who knows?
Okay.
They're going to go through that section, that 3,500 words, until they can read it thoroughly. And it's going to take a while. All
Yeah.
right. This takes a couple of months. But unlike Orton Gillingham, the older the child I work with, the quicker they pick it up. Exact opposite of the traditional approach. So as they go through that, eventually they can read that section. Then I have them move on to the first chapter. By the time they get done with chapters 4 or 5 in any given book, they're generally reading the book, which in this case means they're reading way above grade level. So for instance, when I'm doing this, they go through it, and by the time, like this one girl, we started this when she was 10. At 12, I said, it is now time for you to challenge your mother, who had a master's degree and who was not dyslexic. I said, Mom, what's the second universal theme? And she can't find it. I've never had a parent find it. So then, as 12-year-old girls in this situation are like, they're like, Mom, it's right there. And the mom couldn't believe it. All right. I said, in this instance, your dyslexic 12-year-old daughter can comprehend better than you can. Have I done my job? So now at 12, she is way ahead of any of her classmates. All right. Her ability
Wow.
to comprehend is so incredibly deep. Okay. And I can hear your audience right now. My kids won't do that. My daughter won't do that. My son won't do that. Or teachers,
Yeah.
my kids won't do that. I'm like, wrong. If it's in their speciality, they will do it. So any typical kid, they might say no to Disney. Absolutely. They're going to say no to the textbooks you send them because dyslexics, we are academic specialists, generally, not generalists. You get in our speciality and the kids are hyper focused.
So what
So you got,
tell me speciality. What does that mean?
okay. So how far did you go in your education?
MBA.
Okay. So I want you to imagine, remember when you got into your MBA program, the
Hmm.
first year you learned more about business than an undergrad at Harvard did in 4.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Because you went in there with how many years of work experience before you went to your MBA from undergrad?
Uh, well, I had I went directly into my MBA, but I had 9 years of work experience.
Okay.
I
The
worked
general
illegally.
belief is in your category. is
Uh-huh.
that like the University of Chicago does not teach undergraduates business. They don't think you can.
Right.
In one ear, out the other. Okay. But when you're in an MBA program, you see how specialized that was. And if you're really interested in business, you learn so much more. And that's where dyslexia excel. We excel in grad school because in grad school,
Oh, interesting. Okay.
we are academic specialists. We've been focused in that area for so long. So you enter, let's say, a doctoral program, and they ask all the technical stuff, all the classes you're supposed to learn. They don't care because if you weren't an exceptional student, you wouldn't be there. They just take it for
Right.
granted you're going to do well. The currency of the realm is your original idea that can add to the field. Like, do you remember in business school, you had to keep doing these case studies and you would
Right.
write something where the professor would actually learn something? That's what you're supposed to do. So, for me, for example, when I came up with that original program, I had to get it approved by Professor James Collins, who had $1.5 million grant from the U.S. Education Department in this area. I said I had to take his idea from mild dyslexia to severe dyslexia. Guess how long it took me to get his approval for my written coursework?
I have no idea.
Less than 2 weeks. That's the advantage of dyslexia. We excel day one or close to it. All right.
Wow.
So because it's in our specialty, let me give you like a movie example.
Well,
Did you ever see?
yeah, yeah. So the speciality, how do you figure out a person's speciality? Is it
You
that it
talk.
was, go ahead.
You, you talk to your kid. It's Saturday morning. They can do whatever they want. What is it? That's their specialty. If they could do
Simple as that.
anything they wanted, go anywhere, do anything, ask them what would that be, and when they tell you that, that's the specialty.
Really? Simple as
Yeah,
that.
it's generally that simple. But let me give you the movie example because this
Yeah,
usually
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
cements it. I want you to. Did you ever see the original Fast and Furious?
The original Fast and Furious. I
The
think
first
so.
one.
Yeah, I think
Okay, there
so.
was a scene. Paul Walker's bringing in this junkyard car, and they're going to redo it. And he's sitting there with this ADD kid. So just ADD, ADHD, dyslexia, same solution. Okay, and he's asking him,
Oh,
"How
interesting.
come you're?" He said, "You're amazing at this. How come you're not at MIT?" He said, "I can do this really good. I can't do the other stuff." Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So what we have to do is during the intervention period, the dyslectic has to be in their speciality. We've overcome their problem and they're at grade level or above, we can put them back into typical classes. Okay, this is the problem the schools face because what do? They want to have the kids go through a whole bunch of different books. I'm on one book. If they start off at a 1,000-page biography, I'm on one book for 2 years. Okay.
Right.
If the kids are starting off with Harry Potter and we eventually get to a book, 1,000-page biography, might be 2 or 3 books. Okay. But I'm not on a lot. We're going up by Harry Potter to something at the seventh grade level to something at the 11th grade level. Okay. I'm not doing a lot on purpose. The schools try to give you a whole bunch of different books.
Right.
Then, because rule number one, we have to do the speciality. Rule number two, here's where the school districts violate even worse. As dyslectics, we can't ask we don't learn from the general to the specific. So you cannot ask a dyslectic, what effect did Martin Luther King's famous I Have a Dream speech have on the American Civil Rights Movement? No idea. It's like grabbing fog. We have to ask specific to the general. What effect? I'm sorry. Why did Martin Luther King want to personally give his famous speech? Well, we find the answer in his biography. The answer gives us a question, which we answer again, which gives us a question, which we answer. This forces the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. Okay, so the model is a book in their speciality. We teach from the specific to the general, word analysis followed by articulation. Now, you said that you think you might be dyslectic. Are you ready to find out?
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's first of all find out what your speciality is. Okay. Not work, not school, but if there's something you could do all day long that you're really good at, that you really love, what is that?
Playing with my grandkids.
Playing with your grandkids. Okay. Now, when you're thinking about playing with your grandkids, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed? Key question, but with little to no organization.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, flying around in my head are all the different kinds of things I could do with them, and
Right.
figuring out what the right thing is.
Okay. Now, what that tells me, again, the question is for the dyslexic, in your speciality, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed, but with little to no organization? You say yes. It tells me one of three things initially. You're
Okay.
ADD, ADHD, or mildly dyslexic. One of those three. Okay.
Really?
Really?
Okay. This
This
is
is what
cool.
I'm trying to save parents $5,000 in the neuropsych. All right. Now, you ready
Okay.
for the next question to see if you're severely dyslexic?
I don't know, but go for it.
Okay. I want you to think about you want to write something about playing with your grandchildren. You're at the
Yes.
computer, fingers, keyboard, fingers, keyboard. You take your fingers, you put them on the keyboard. Does the idea fly out of your brain, leaving you with an empty brain? Is that you or not really?
Does the idea of playing with my kids fly onto my keyboard?
No, you have your fingers. You put your
Yeah.
fingers up. You want to write about playing with your grandkids. You want to write
Yes.
about it. The idea
Yes.
is in your head. You take your
Yes.
fingers, look at my fingers. You take your fingers and you put them on the keyboard. When you do that, does the idea fly out of your brain, leaving you with an empty head? Is that you or not really?
Not really.
Okay, then you're not severely dyslexic.
Okay.
Let me ask you the one
Th-
last question.
Okay.
When you were in elementary school, were you ever threatened with being held back?
Was I ever threatened on being held back? Um, yeah.
Okay, now I want you to think back then. This is really important. You were threatened to be held back because there was some academic task that you had to pass, and they didn't think you were going to be able to pass it. And they said, if you can't pass this, we're going to hold you back. Sound familiar? Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So then what happened? This might freak you out. This is what typically happens. Did you realize that your friends were going to move on? You're going to be held back. You're going to lose your friends, and it caused you an extreme amount of anxiety.
Oh,
Remember that?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So then, this is about to freak you out because of that extreme anxiety and your fear of this, and maybe what your parents would think or those around you. You felt a lot of anxiety, maybe a lot of shame. Nobody could help you. And then, as that increased to the point of being clinically dangerous, you had an epiphany. The solution presented itself and you passed and you moved on.
Yep.
Is that what happened?
Yep.
Does it freak you out that I knew that?
A little bit.
Okay. If
A
I
little bit.
tell this, if the kid is still in high school or lower, and sometimes even in college, it freaks them out completely. All right. They don't want their parents ever to know this. And when I'm trying, because you went through this, when I meant the anxiety was clinically dangerous, it was extraordinarily severe. Do you remember that?
The severity
Yes.
of how I felt? Yeah.
Yeah, of being left behind. All your friends are moving on. You're
Yeah.
left with strangers.
I never
Do you
thought
remember
about it
how
I never thought about it clinically, but I remember the acute,
it was? Yeah,
very,
it was.
yeah,
Would you want
fear.
your grandchildren to feel like
Oh
that?
God, no. No.
Okay, so what happened there is you found a solution, and then let me guess, this happened to you numerous other occasions before you graduated from high school.
Oh,
It
it still
became
does.
right, but it became normalized to you.
It did. Totally.
Okay, now my original program. Why was it so incredibly successful? Because I knew that each one of those students felt that way. And I didn't ask them until they were well into it. And they all said exactly what happened to you, because that only happens to a very small percentage of dyslexics who are incredibly intelligent. Okay. And also with them happen to be incredibly motivated. All right. So I knew when they were going through the program, when the teacher was presenting things, it was close enough where all those little mistakes they're making, they just applied to what they created themselves in elementary school that allowed them to just overcome their spelling and grammar issues, each one of them. All right. So what it
Okay.
did for you is you were essentially doing doctoral level work when you were 8 years old because you're solving a critically important task and nobody's helping you. You came up with a
Hmm.
process. The severe anxiety triggered epiphanies. It's what I call controlled frustration. And I think it should absolutely not be used with anybody under 18. Okay. So that
Wow.
process, yeah, yeah. Do you see why if I were to tell that, like, how old is your oldest grandchild?
7.
Okay. Imagine, make up a name for your grandchild so we're protecting their identity.
Craig.
Craig. Okay. Imagine Craig was 15 and I asked Craig that. He said yes. Can you imagine why he doesn't want his parents to know?
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Okay. So when I mean it freaks them out, it freaks them out. So that's what I
Got
tell
it.
them. And usually after, if they answer yes to that question, I explain it to them. And I said, is this how you'd like to learn how to overcome this? And they're like, for the first time, somebody gets me. They're like, how do you know? I said, well, I learned to read and write in law school after I finished college with a first grade reading and writing level. Took me a month to learn to read in law school and then a couple of years to learn the writing. All right. Just- That's okay. So I'm just saying that is dyslexia. So you now know you're in what state?
Washington.
You now know more about dyslexia than any professor in in the state of Washington.
So, why
Yeah,
is that?
that's a big one, huh?
Right? Why is that?
Because the vast majority of them are not dyslexic. They have continued Dr. Orton's work. All right. What I'm offering you is something so completely new. So do you see how when I walked through, you said yes, no, yes, and
Yep.
especially the last one, okay, how I told you what happened when you were in elementary school?
Hmm.
Do you find that kind of weird that I could tell you that precisely?
Yeah, I kind of find it weird that it's so relatively simple.
Well, it's taken me over 20 years to make it simple.
So, you are dyslexic.
Yes.
So, so why are you? I don't want to answer the question because I think the answer might be obvious. But what was it that inspired you to do what you're doing and helping the people you're helping?
Oh, well, very simple. It was the late 90s. I wanted to know how government worked. I didn't want some academic discussion. I wanted to know how the darn thing worked.
Hmm.
So I applied for the New York State Assembly internship program. They accepted me. Then I show up and I say, here's my neuropsych evaluation. I have a first grade reading and writing level. And they looked at me and said, this isn't going to work. So they got a committee together of their senior people and they said, we're not going to give you the normal internship program. This won't work. They placed me in the majority leaders program and counsel's office in the Capitol that ran things day to day. And they didn't deal with undergrads. They dealt with graduate students. It's a much higher level of an internship because they had three administrative assistants. And it worked out beautifully. But then for the academic portion, I had to do a major research project. So a standard accommodation back then was for me to give it orally. And I'm not talking about a quick Q&A session. It was a long presentation and then a very long Q&A session. And they were after me like crazy. I was used to it. I did it dozens of times in college. All right. So then they recommended 15 credits of A minus. Goes back to the political science department at the State University of New York Center at Buffalo. And for the only time in the history of the program, and remember, it's over 150 students a year for decades. It was decades before I got there, and it's still the only time it happened in the last 27 years. They looked at the accommodations and they said, we don't like them. So here's your 15 credits of F. Yeah. Do you have any idea what that does to a transcript? I thought I was getting 15 credits of A minus. Instead, I got 15 credits of F.
What?
Yeah,
Because they didn't like the accommodations?
right.
Okay, so then what happened?
Well, then I got ticked off and I wanted to solve everything. And I went to my professors and I said, where do I go to force myself to learn to read and write in grad school? And they laughed and said, law school. So I said, okay, I went. And they're like, but we weren't serious. But so I went and I found Professor Warner, who was a dyslexic legal professor for decades. And I go to audit. So when I do all the work, I get no credit. So I walk into contracts, and the second day he calls on me. And if you want, there's a famous movie made about the Socratic method. It's called The Paper Chase from the 70s. But what they do, if you don't know the answer, which virtually nobody does the first week of class, is they'll keep asking you questions to try to embarrass you.
Hmm.
Okay, it is unforgivable not to know the answer, so they just keep piling on. All right. Well, that didn't happen to me. He called on me, and my classmates cringed because they knew what was coming. But for the first time in my life, which I learned later, is that dyslexics excel in grad school, everything slowed down and organized itself. And I started answering him. Then he started really attacking me. And then I just responded right back. I knew where he was going multiple steps ahead. Same with him to me. Finally, I'm leaning forward. I'm just about shouting at him. He's leaning forward, shouting at me. We're going back and forth just as fast as we can speak. And this went on for 15 minutes. I could have went on for the next hour. But he said, Russell, I have to stop in the interest of time. I have to move on to the next case. You couldn't be any more correct. My friends who graduated past the bar and practicing for the past couple of decades said they still can't do that, not against a professor. So I solved law school thinking my second day of law school. I did reading within a month, writing within a couple of years.
Okay. How did you do that?
Because it's in my speciality, I found. All
Got
right.
it.
I took like
Interesting.
political science that semester that I had in the assembly. I learned more about political science than people who never did the internship. I did a major mostly in communications. I finished one in economics, mostly in history. I did a lot. I did a lot in engineering. All right. I just took all these different things, and that for the first time, because it was grad level, and he just went right at my face, and just it was either answer or become embarrassed, and I was sick and tired of becoming embarrassed. So everything just
Wow.
collapsed together in that one moment.
Wow. And so fast forwarding to now, you help you help dyslexic folks do that without having to go through what you went through.
Right. Let me give you an example of what we're doing now. With that process I showed you, I have full permission to tell the story. Last December, December 2024, I met Kimberly. She's a homeschooling mom of a 10-year-old named Reed. She spent $700 to have her kids tested for the state of Ohio. So Reed, what their test, I'm not going to mention the test because it's kind of meaningless. He scored a 190, which for them is mid second grade level. All right. If he was in public school for the rest of the school year in special ed, he was supposed to increase by 2.8 points. So 192.8 at the end of the school year. Grade level was 211. Kimberly, using this process, did not increase by 2.8 points. She increased by 20 points. All right. So
Hmm.
statistics. This is over a three standard deviation increase, about 1 in 2,000. So Reed was at a 210, and grade level was 211, essentially grade level. Then his friends come to him over the summer and they say, Reed, we want you in public school to be with us socially. So he and his younger brother decided to go to public school. His younger brother's a gen ed kid, and he was doing great. Reed goes in. If he went in December before he started working with me, he would have been in special ed. He would have been frustrated like all crazy, not being with his friends. But because his mother was able to fix this, he went into gen ed classes. He's in mainstream, typical classes, and he's doing just fine. All right.
Wow.
His mom solved
Wow.
this in 6 months, usually about half an hour a session, 3 sessions a week. I worked with her about a half an hour a week.
Okay. So we're coming up on time.
Mhm.
What do you recommend? What do you recommend for my listeners who know of or have dyslexia in their life?
It's really simple, especially if you're talking about a kid or if you want to overcome it yourself, because I've worked with adults. Remember, the older you are, the quicker you pick this up. So adults pick it up a lot faster than school kids. Easiest thing to do is just go to my website, dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com. And there's a button there that says download free report. All right. So
Okay.
just click on it, answer a couple of questions, and you get a report that says the 3 reasons your child's having trouble in school due to dyslexia and how to get past it. And it takes you to a Zoom link. I'm sorry, a Calendly link. You set up a half an hour time, free of charge for me. I meet with you and your child online. We go over basically what we discussed today. And the kids are very standoffish at the beginning. But
Sure.
once I ask them those questions, and they're like, yeah, that's me. How did you know? I said, well, you think you're the only one? And they're like, then I asked them, is this how you want to overcome your concerns? And they say yes. And I talk to the parents. We have the parents work with the kids because honestly, it's the only affordable method out there. And as I just showed you with Kimberly, it's very successful. You work with your kids. We work with families on a yearly basis, and we get it solved, and you can move on. We're trying to have you
Dysl
solve this without house money. Yeah,
Dyslexiaclasses.com.
yeah, it's that simple.
Wow. Okay, folks, dyslexiaclasses.com. And for those of you who do reach out to Russell, I would love to hear back from you in terms of what your experience working with Russell was like and how it changed things. Russell, this is this is almost sounds too good to be true, right? And yet you've gone through this journey. You've helped lots of people through their own journey. And like I said earlier, this podcast is all about it's not about theory. It's not about opinions. It's about real lived experiences and learning from folks like you, Russell. Um, Last words.
Well, when you mentioned it sounds too good to be true, in New
Hmm.
Jersey, the New Jersey Association of Learning Consultants contacted me for 2022 because of how bad the pandemic was. I
Hmm.
went in and showed their people, their entire association, over 80 of them, in 2 2-hour sessions, how to take dyslexic kids who can't write C spot run all the way through the basic 5 paragraph essay in 2 hours. All right. Now, if you want to do something really dangerous, go in front of a bunch of teachers and then say you can change the world and say something stupid. Okay. They they found me because I presented the same material in New York City all the time. And they called up and they said, how can you help us? And they asked, well, what is your charge for this? And they're willing to pay a lot of money. I said, you know what? I'll do it for no cost because I want to help the kids. All right. So I've been teaching the same process in New York City for the past 10 years. If it's too good to be true, I wouldn't have done it. You can just look up everyone reading and me any year from 2014 on.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. Um, Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. So remember, uh, dyslexiaclasses.com.
Hmm.
Russell, this has been fascinating. You have confirmed that I am ADD or ADHD, and I'm not severely dyslexic.
No, oh,
Uh,
actually, because you said yes to the third question, and there might be some version of that. It's a general ballpark. If you want to get tested, you can find out, but that's about $5,000.
okay. I
I
don't
gave
need
you
to know.
something more direct. Yeah,
I
it's
okay.
rare I get a yes, no, yes. Usually
Yeah.
it's yes, yes, yes. But yeah, you
Okay.
got some form of you have something that is more than mild if it's dyslexia, but you're incredibly intelligent and motivated because you answered yes to the third question. Very rarely do I get people that say yes to that.
Really?
Yeah, because you
Wow.
had to have an extraordinarily high IQ if you were going to solve this when you were 8 years old.
Wow.
Typically, typically
Fascinating.
these students, I would look at them and they're like, I got an 82 average. I was like, uh-huh. And your brothers and sisters are fighting to be valedictorians of their class. They come from very academically focused families,
Hmm.
and they got like high 70s, low 80s, or maybe 85, just making basic honor roll. And I was like, I know your secret. And I asked and they freak every time. They don't want
Wow.
their parents to know how bad it was. They really don't. All right. And then,
Yeah.
and then I would have students who a decade later, their parents were like, "What was that? I know your secret thing." And then after their parents, they finally would tell them what it was like. And they're like, I had no idea you went through that torment.
Wow.
And when I
Oh,
say it's clinically dangerous, I mean it's clinically dangerous.
wow. Wow. I
You don't
understand
want
that now.
kids feeling like that.
Yeah,
You just don't.
totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. Russell Van Brocklin. This has been wonderful. Thank you for sharing your experience and your journey. And thank you for all you do and helping folks get through this
Thanks for
and move
having me
forward in
on.
their life and finding better. So,
Mhm.
folks, listen, check it out. Check it out and let folks around you check it out because boy, what a life changer. What a life changer. Russell, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. All of you out there, thank you for joining us. Please, again, share this. Please subscribe. I love you. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Have a nice day.